I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I'm recording this on Friday as I usually do for the Monday episodes, and the premium subscribers got to hear this episode on Friday. I'll talk about how that works after the break, but I'm really excited. Just a few minutes ago in real time in my life here on Friday morning, Weird Al tweeted, "Surprise, new album release. It's Weird, the Al Yankovic Story original soundtrack." This is fresh out of the oven. If you're on Monday, you might be like, yeah, we've been listening all week at Johnny Mac. What are you talking about? So I haven't had time to actually listen to it yet, but I skimmed a couple tracks because I see some of them are labeled 2022 version. It's unclear to me if that's because it's a new version from the movie, or maybe Al doesn't own his publishing and is re-recording things like Taylor Swift has done. What surprises me is this is not just a Weird Al greatest hits album. It looks like a true soundtrack. It kicks off with an 11-second track called You Don't Know Anything, parentheses, dialogue by Diedrich Bader. Then we get My Bologna, 2022 version, I Love Rocky Road, 2022 version. Another one, Rides the Bus. Looks like that's a 2022 version. It cuts off here on Apple Music. Eat It's regular version, Like a Surgeon 2022, Amish Paradise 2022. That one I clicked on just to see what a 2022 version is. And yes, the vocal is clearly different to me. I can't tell you which one I prefer yet. Then we get some various things that are not Weird Al songs, including the Chicken Dance, and a bunch of things that must have appeared on Dr. Demento's show back in the day. Then some actual scoring soundtrack stuff by the Budapest Scoring Orchestra. There are 46 tracks in all on this. 1 hour, 18 minutes, out on Friday. I'm sure that will get some spins by me over the weekend. The Daily Beast has some information from Chris Redd about that incident outside the Comedy Cellar a few weeks ago. Redd was supposed to be the guest on the Last Laugh podcast, and he didn't show up because of the incident. So the Daily Beast reached out to him to get some comment, and Chris said he didn't get out of a car in front of the club. He walked there like any New Yorker. And he does not believe the incident was an attempted mugging as previously described. As he started walking towards the door, Redd says, "This man hit me in the face with something metal. I thought it was brass knuckles because of the way it cut my nose to the bone." Redd said that after years of boxing, he's taken a punch in the face before, so he didn't find the ordeal terrifying. But he did get concerned when he saw how much blood was coming out of his face. He ended up getting rushed to Bellevue Hospital to treat 2 fractures in his nose and another in his cheek. Redd said, "A fist don't normally do all that at one time, so it was safe to assume I was hit with something, but the dude just hit me and ran off. I fell down so fast. I didn't even know I fell until I looked at the surveillance footage." When Redd stood back up, the guy was gone. His face was gushing blood, and he said it wasn't really about the pain at that point. It was just so much blood, and he decided it wasn't a good idea to try and chase him down the street with blood gushing out of my face. Was Chris Redd tempted to go into the Comedy Cellar and turn it into a bit? And he said, "Absolutely, I was. That's why there was blood on the stairs leading down to the club. If we could have stopped the bleeding, I would have went on stage. I was like, I can't wait to talk about this stuff, and I'm glad I waited." That was my first thought. Once he does get back on stage, he says, "I got some jokes for sure. As many jokes as other people have, nobody has as many jokes about this as I do." I'm still laughing that people are annoyed about Hasan Minhaj's appearance on Celebrity Jeopardy. This from the U.S. Sun. Maybe next time. Jeopardy execs break silence on Hasan Minhaj's lack of composure. The producers were on the Inside Jeopardy podcast, which is a thing. Producer Buzzy Cohen said, "These celebrity shows are getting better and better. Coming into this, I thought it was Will Wheaton's game by a mile. I think Hasan knew a lot of stuff, but next time, maybe we'll see a more composed Hasan. I hope he comes back if they invite him for a second time." Hasan was on Jimmy Fallon's show. That's called The Tonight Show, by the way, but he was on with Jimmy Fallon. And he said The Tonight Show is bad luck. "Every time I come on the show, Jimmy, I'm embroiled in some controversy. Last time I was on the show, I did a couple jokes, and I ticked off doctors of osteopathic medicine, a niche group of physicians. They were hate tweeting the show from their Teslas." He then told the story of annoying people on Jeopardy, and he said, "I have this unique power to tick off dedicated nerds." Jimmy Kimmel was on the Naked Lunch podcast, and he said he threatened to quit Jimmy Kimmel Live when ABC executives were like, "Can you back off the Trump jokes a little?" Kimmel said, "There was one time right around the beginning of this whole Trump thing, maybe not quite 8 years ago, I said, listen, I get it. You're right. I've lost half of my fan base, maybe more. 10 years ago, among Republicans, I was the most popular talk show, at least according to the research they did. I get it if blocking Trump jokes is what they want to do. And I said, if that's what you want to do, I don't begrudge you for it, but I'm not going to do it. If you want someone else to host the show, that's fine with me. I'm just not going to do it like that. I was serious. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't grill Trump." Kimmel added, "I want to be on the air when Donald Trump goes to jail. I still believe, even after living through the O.J. Simpson trial, that justice triumphs in America. And I know there are a billion different examples to the contrary, but how can you commit this many crimes and be this unethical and be this terrible and get away with it?" Did you enjoy the Weird Al movie? Davy Club spoke to Mr. Yankovic and asked him, "If I told you back in 2000 that the little boy who plays Harry Potter would be playing you one day, what What would you have said? That would not have been on my bingo card at any point. That's something I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. I will say, I didn't think I'd be casting him in a movie, but I did see Daniel on TV in 2010 on The Graham Norton Show, where he performed The Elements by Tom Lehrer, which is an extremely nerdy thing to do. The fact that he memorized that and performed it on national TV in front of Rihanna, that's alpha nerd stuff. I thought at that moment, oh, we're kindred spirits. This guy will be friends. I had that in the back of my mind for years when we started casting the movie and Daniel's name appeared on the short list of actors we were considering. I thought, Daniel's got to be the guy. He's got the right spirit, he's got the right energy, and he definitely has the acting chops. He pulls off the comedic and dramatic moments amazingly well, which is not an easy thing. We're going for a very specific tone. It's obviously a comedy, but we're not playing it like a comedy. We're playing it like an extremely serious Oscar-baiting Hollywood biopic. All right, Weird Al, who do you find funny? He says, oh gosh, if I started mentioning names, I'd leave out a lot of people, so go to my Twitter feed and see who I'm following. That'll give you some clues. I commented on Twitter, Mike Birbiglia's publicist, you are earning your money. And I don't mean that as a dig. There's a lot of press about Mike Birbiglia's show, The Old Man in the Pool, that opens on Sunday. It's in previews right now. Tons of articles, including one from the New York Times I'll pick at later in the week. This one from The Hollywood Reporter. It's going to be 70 shows at the 1,000-seat Vivian Beaumont Theater. Birbig says, that's 3 Madison Square Gardens. I drive my agent nuts. People ask me, what's the difference between stand-up comedy and a play? Birbig says a play is a single piece. If you take one element out of it, it would fall apart. He told the story of getting into comedy when he won the Funniest Person on Campus contest at Georgetown. I won! Nick Kroll was in it too. That's how we met. Gave me the chance to be an opening act one night at the DC Improv. I asked if I could do it again. They said, no, but you can work the door and sell tickets. Then I got to watch the great comedians of the 90s. Margaret Cho, Jake Johansson, Mitch Hedberg, Jim Gaffigan. All these people I couldn't afford to go see otherwise, watching them again and again, the repetition of their acts and how they evolved. When I got out of college, I took road gigs anywhere anyone would take me. I was primarily an opening act. Once I was able to start headlining, doing 45 minutes to an hour, that's when I started to perform pieces of my first solo play, Sleepwalk with Me. I wanted to work on a play, but I didn't have a place to do it, so a comedy club is just as good as any. I made a small boo-boo, just a tiny boo-boo, on Friday's show. I had mentioned Quinta Brunson. I said, I'll get back to her, and I forgot to get back to her. And I left out a major thing. She was named the Hollywood Reporter's Comedy Star of the Year, Quinta Brunson. Sorry, Quinta. I meant to do it as a thing. Hailed as the savior of the traditional sitcom for creating Abbott Elementary, Brunson has had much of Hollywood blowing up her phone, but she says, I really just want to make a good TV show. A Hollywood Reporter asked her the difference between a 13-episode and a 22-episode season of TV, and she said, oh, for sure. I've never known the meaning of bittersweet so well. It's amazing. It's job security for a lot of people for a long time. It's more Abbott for people to watch, but I was like, oh, that's so much TV. It's not a concern of producing all these stories. It's about making sure that things run smoothly, trying to make sure my cast and I don't burn out, because it's a lot. What changed for the second season? She said we did a lot of character development in the first season. Not that we're going to stop that, but there are more opportunities to just be plain flat out funny. The audience knows these characters now. It feels scary in an age of deep art comedies to do something that's a little tongue-in-cheek, a little kitschy, and a little pointless. Don't get me wrong, because I still think these darker comedies are hilarious, but with a lot of comedies nowadays, you can't just pop into an episode. You need to know the same way you need to know what's going on in an episode of Game of Thrones. The New York Comedy Festival kicks off today. I'll go over the schedule with you really quickly. I've done some work with the New York Comedy Festival over the years, back at my days at SiriusXM. Really good festival. The trick here is always that New York City is so big that the festival can be invisible unless you know where to look. It's not a dig, it's just a comment on New York City. I'm sure if this were the Shelbyville Comedy Festival, you would hear about it. All right, let's fly through today's lineup. Now, they didn't do a nice grid. You know, at the other comedy festivals, I like to look at the grid and do the what should we see tonight. They don't have one of those for me. They just have a list, and the list doesn't even have times. So I can't really play the game, but along the way, I might go, ooh, let's go see that. All right, the show's tonight. An hour with Ryan Donahue. Brownish Live with JC Mendoza and 6 other comics. Comedy Records presents The Canadians. I'm always down for some Canadian comedy. That's at Caroline's. That's interesting. Repentance with Mecky Leeper and Ahmad Weinberg. We're pretty deep here, aren't we? This next one has a vulgarity in its title. S-word probe. I don't want to get marked as explicit, guys. Next up is Diking Out at Stonewall. Union Hall has Natalie Alcor, I Always Hated You. Stand Up for Heroes. That's at Lincoln Center, so that's the big show for the night. Some of the performers tonight: Jeff Ross, Eliza Schlesinger, Hassan Minhaj, Jon Stewart, and comedians Bruce Springsteen and the Lumineers. That's 2 acts. There's no such thing as Bruce Springsteen and the Lumineers, although that would probably be pretty good music. Annie Hamilton at the Jane Ballroom. Espresso Martini Night with Hannah Berner at the Stand. This is deep, this festival. Butter Boys at Littlefield. Joke Sisters at New York Comedy Club. Media Watch Fun Fest at Wonderville. Dina Hashem at the Tiny Cupboard. Y'all Had to Be Here Live at New York Comedy Club. Young Douglas at Caveat. Pauly Shore, he's at Asylum. Live with Yamanika and special guests at Caroline's. Wolves of Glendale and Josh Adam Myers at Chelsea Music Hall. Hit That Track at the Littlefield. Major LOL Vibes with Rachel Cayley at Union Hall. Being Ian with Jordan at New York Comedy Club. And Big Grand's Little Improv Show at Asylum. Now that's a ton of shows. And Johnny Mac, I thought you said it was invisible. It kind of is. That's how big New York City is. So I don't have a grid here, but just from memory. All right, what are we going to go see tonight? Obviously, we would go see the Stand Up for Heroes show if we could get in, but we are probably not cool enough to get into that hot ticket. So let's go see the Canadians. Pauly Shore, also a consideration. All right, we'll do more of that tomorrow. Let's stop off at Gossip Corner. Cosmo is recapping the latest with Pete and Kim. On October 21st, Kim posted a gorgeous display of roses she received for her 42nd birthday with a jasmine candle. So fans assumed it was from Pete Davidson thanks to their Aladdin and Jasmine SNL sketch. That same day, The Sun reported that Pete and Kim secretly saw each other in New York City when she came back from Paris Fashion Week, and a source claimed Pete visited Kim at her room. The next day, Kim was seen sneaking out a back entrance of the hotel in a disguise and hopped in a waiting Escalade to visit Pete on Staten Island. But then, on October 24th, an insider told Entertainment Tonight that Pete and Kim still keep in touch, and it wasn't a bad fallout or breakup. So things are good between them. They've remained in contact. So far, so good. But then, E! News reported from a source who said Kim and Pete are not speaking, and they're not hanging out again. Kim told James Corden that she's open to dating again. Clearly, it's not working, whatever I'm doing, so I don't know, maybe like a hospital and meet a doctor, a law firm. I think it's going to be like scientist, neuroscientist, biochemist, doctor, attorney. That's maybe what I envision in the future. And did you watch Blockbuster on Netflix? That was on my agenda for the weekend. Unless you're a time traveler, I don't know if I watched it or not. I'll tell you in the future. Timmy Yoon, played by Randall Park, is the lovable manager of the last operating Blockbuster. He's passionate about keeping the place open, even as business dwindles. He's the Leslie Knope, Michael Scott type. He wants to keep the store afloat to ensure that his family, the people who work at the store, they're not actually family, proverbial family, wants to make sure they're taken care of. The AV Club says there's not much to glean about why this Blockbuster hasn't been shuttered, which seems like a major plot point. Their review, not so good. Listen to this sentence. Blockbuster truly struggles with the laughs in that there are barely any. Ouch. The humor is either cringeworthy or forced, as are the situations that lead to it, including a prank gone wrong and a ridiculous solar storm that briefly turns off the internet. The jokes often feel as dated as the Blockbuster gimmick it's trying to pull off. Yikes. And that's your comedy news for today. At the beginning of the episode, I mentioned premium subscribers. So here's the deal. If you go on Apple Podcasts, for $5 a month, you can get the show ad-free and early. So for example, I was so excited to tell you about Weird Al's new album, and you had to wait until Monday to hear about it. The premium subscribers got the episode on Friday. So it's $5 a month. You can get the first month for free. Try it out. Take it out for a drive. If you don't like it, don't renew it. I'm not offended. And just let me be clear. I'm not bogarting the episodes. I record Monday episodes on Friday because, like you, on the weekends, I like to hang out. So I usually record Monday on Friday. If there were no premium option, the episode would still come out on Monday. All I'm doing is, since it's done anyway, let me hook up the premium subscribers. So I'm not like holding material back from you. Anyway, Apple Podcasts, $5 a month if you want to do that. You can follow the show for free, as I hope you already do, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your shows. And there's an audio-only version on YouTube. You don't get to see me in my cool blue champion sweatshirt that I'm wearing today because it's audio only. If I start filming video of this, it'll take me 9 hours to put together, and for that, we're going to need a staff. Now, on the calendar for tomorrow, what are you going to do? You're going to vote.